Not yet. All right, welcome to Class 5, Part 2. We are going to be looking at everybody's work here in just 1 second, but we had a quick idea and a discussion during the break about how I...
Michael, we don't see you. We see just the Oregon Society of Artists.
Okay, thank you. Let me spotlight myself. There we go. How's that?
Show your painting versus your palette.
Oh, I want to show you the palette really quickly because I'm going to squeeze out the colors.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to squeeze out 2 transparent colors. If you see on the right side of the palette there, there's a yellow, and the golden is actually a transparent earthy red. And then I grabbed a bit of Hooker's green, which is also very transparent. I've never used this color, but I thought it would be interesting just to glaze with a little bit of that as well, possibly. All right, Gail, repeat what you just said so eloquently. I apologize for that.
As a toneless painter, I typically do my underpaintings in transparent red oxide and burnt umber because I like to show the warmth of the landscape, and I many times use the underpainting in the finished painting. In other words, that the underpainting shows through. And what I was asking Michael, 2 questions basically. When you do an underpainting in black and white, you kind of lose that warmth because the black and white is very cool. So how do you accommodate, how do you rectify that or reconcile using a cool underpainting? You know, how do you make that transition in acrylic? Because acrylics tend, at least in my mind, to be more opaque. So I think what he's going to do is show me how to do that with both the black and white, with both the black and white underpainting in general and acrylic specific.
Perfect. So I've done the painting twice in black and white, and I'm actually thinking one of them should be maybe more of a sunrise painting. So I'm almost even thinking maybe glazing one in blue. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the back of my tubes, and I'm looking for transparent color. So I didn't grab any opaque, I didn't grab any semi-opaque or semi-transparent. You could grab any of those and use more medium, but transparent is the best for doing glazing. So now I've got a yellow, a reddish brown, which is a burnt umber light, which I've never seen in oil paints, but in a golden acrylic, they have a burnt umber light, which is a really transparent color. You can see on the little bars there, you can see the black lines underneath it. It's a great color. Indian yellow is almost always a transparent color. And then I think it was either Linda or somebody in the class was suggesting I look at Hooker's green, which is a really earthy, kind of a beautiful green I've seen other people use, but I've never used it. So anyways, I squeezed those out. I've got my 2 mediums here. I've got a texture medium, and I've also got the retarder. The retarder is great for glazing because it slightly slows down the drying time and allows me to move the paint. It doesn't add that much time though. And again, I'll continue to experiment with other things. If I was using acrylic opens, this would be really easy. Also, Mary suggested some paints from Australia called Atelier, which comes with these interesting mediums. So this is called a slow medium, which slows the drying time down. They also have one that reactivates the paint. So then I could just continue to glaze with it forever. I do plan to try it and experiment. I just got my supplies in the mail a couple of days ago, so I haven't experimented with that. I'm going to go ahead and move up to our painting references. Okay, so I basically just did the same reference, flipped it, right? Like imagine this scene is basically that, right? Just the top of this, sort of, you know, it's always going to be individual. I want one to be sunset and one to be sunrise. In my opinion, and let's talk about this for a second, the sunrise is more mellow, right? The colors are beautiful, but they're a little more on the cool side oftentimes, right? A little more purples, a little more blues. And the sunset is oftentimes warmer, right? A little more vibrant. You got more oranges, yellows, reds. You guys agree with that when you observe the sunrise and sunset? Some of you
Yeah.
maybe have never seen a sunrise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think that is due to sunrise is dealing with all the moisture that is gathered on the earth during the night, right? It's all that dew and mist and fog. Like actually a sunset with fog is a little weird. That doesn't happen that often, at least where I live. Usually the mist is in the morning, right? The fog is in the morning as the earth is warming up and all that dew starts rising up off the ground. You get that nice fog, or the clouds have lowered down, they've cooled down, they've lowered down to the earth during the night. And at sunset, you often have the pollution throughout the day, all the people driving, the tractors kicking up dust, all those different pollutants. And it just seems to be warmer. I mean, you hear the golden hour, and that's not said about the morning, right? The golden hour is evening light. Okay, so let's look at these two paintings. Which one of them design-wise speaks to you more sunrise, and which one speaks to you more as the sunset?
The one on the right reminds me of sunrise.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
tell me why.
The
Softer.
the softer and the shape of the clouds and the distance that you've created in that one.
It's more lackadaisical as well, right?
Right,
It's just
right, yeah.
you're just waking up, you're just coming into your day. Whereas this one feels like bam, this one feels like do 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 do, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I want my mornings to be do 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 do. I hate it when my mornings are bam, but sometimes sunsets are like that. Like literally, my wife and I will be in the house, and all of a sudden, my wife yells, "Get outside! The sunset's amazing!" You know.
Yeah.
And we run out and take photos and maybe walk the dog if we're lucky at that time. So yeah, I think this one is a better sunset painting, and this one's a better sunrise painting. For no other reason than just based on feeling. All right, so let's go to our sunset, and I'm gonna make our sunset is more about the golden hour. So what I'm doing is I'm dipping my big brush in a bit of paint medium and a bit of the retarder. I have no idea like what the right way to do this is, but all I know is I just want that paint to slip and slide around. So I'm dipping my brush in a bit of my Indian yellow. So let's see what happens as I mix it in, maybe a little. The great thing about acrylics is all the mediums just work so well and easily together. So let's just see what happens. Oh, I'm gonna mist it as well. Again, not too much. I don't want it dripping. I'm not misting it super close. I'm misting it from a distance.
Why?
And it's just a little bit wet, and that will allow the paint to just
Okay.
slip and slide its way across. Grab a paper towel, clean this brush off a little bit. And maybe this would be a good opportunity to use a nice soft, like this brush has so much texture in it because it's just one of those cheap house brushes. I can bring back some of those darks. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab a soft brush, a synthetic bristle brush. So isn't that interesting how quickly, let's go ahead and bring in some of that transparent, warm, reddish, brownish color, the transparent burnt umber light. And again, I can totally come back over and repaint any of these areas, but you see that little bit of warmth?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
There a particular reason why you didn't wipe away some of the white? Just to-
Oh, like get in here and get like re-brighten this area like
yeah.
that?
Okay, so it still does move a little bit.
Yeah, no, because of that retarder, I've got a little bit of room to manipulate.
Okay.
There we go. I mean, the only problem is it got back to cool.
Yeah, but not as cool as what it was.
Not as cool as what it was. Yeah. So maybe I can even take this dirty brush and lightly. So yeah, it's all modifiable for, again, with oils, I've got 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe hours. And with acrylics, I've got minutes.
Sorry.
So no coffee breaks when you're painting with acrylics and doing glazes. And
I like that you wiped away some of the yellow.
so yeah, the acrylics are malleable, but you see how fast I'm having to work. And they're already, I can feel my brush slowing down. Like I can feel it getting sticky. Like it's turned from water to honey. But I can still move this honey around, but I probably only have minutes left. But you see how all of a sudden, Gail, that looks like I did it as a monochromatic, earthy painting? Sure
That,
does, Mike.
that red helps.
Yeah, that a little bit of red, yeah.
I think she walked away from the.
We lost Gail. All right, so let's do the other one. Let's do sunrise. And clean this brush. So there I did dip it in water just because I don't want all that yellow. Otherwise, when I mix blue on this one, it's going to turn to green. And I'm actually going to grab a cool red as well. So maybe kind of like an alizarin or a quinacridone red if I have one. All right, what is this one? This one says magenta. That might be fun.
Hmm.
Again, I'm still just stealing my daughter's paints. I went ahead and donated last week a huge box of my daughter's old paints that she was using when she was like 5 years old. And a whole bunch of old bad canvases to a neighbor kid. So he's so excited. He just got a huge box of art supplies.
Another budding artist.
Exactly right. Now I've got 2 of them in the neighborhood now. Three.
Yeah. Good for
All
you.
right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this with magenta first, which
Ooh.
is, yeah, no, I feeling the same way. Ooh. Let's see what happens. But I'm thinking magenta is cooler, right? Like this feels sort of sunsetty. Feels, you know, I could bring in all the other colors over the top and do all that. But let's just see. Ooh.
Oh, not bad.
Nice.
Not bad. Keep going.
Somebody's ready to go out for the night. Look at this beautiful lady.
I love that color.
Yeah, I also liked it.
Getting dolled up. Maybe, I guess it's early morning, so she's getting dolled up to. Ah, look at that though. Even with the gray, like see how the gray
That's
turned
nice.
blue?
Yes, that's sweet.
Yeah, she's a sweet lady. People say she wears a little too much makeup. They don't know what she's up to, but
A little too much rouge.
yeah, yeah. Super fun. Let's bring in some blue. So again, it's the same kind of concept that I do with my oils, but I just have to be so much faster. Blue, 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 blue.
Oh, not too much. Ooh.
Blue, 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 blue.
Oh.
All right, here we go. It's missed it because it's already getting sticky. I'm just telling you, acrylics dry so fast. Even with this retarder that I've added to the paint, so fast.
The retarder, I think, is what makes it sticky. At least that's my,
I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not really
not a
appreciating
big fan of
a
retarder.
retarder. And when you go back into it, it like reactivates, but in an ugly way.
It's just a different, definitely a different texture.
Yeah, I blame myself because I don't understand it, but yeah, I've been very frustrated by it so far. So maybe just working fast is the key. Ta-da! Sunrise, sunset.
Wow.
Fun.
Very nice.
Right, and got a dirty brush, right? It's gotten to purple because I've got blue and magenta on there. So I can just come in like, oh, let's, I don't want that line going all the way across. I want to keep it focused in this area. So let's just cool that down over here. Cool that down over here. Let's cool that down over here. Eloise, are you on there?
Hello, yes, sorry.
Have you done any of this? Have you done glazing at all over with your acrylic?
In sections of a painting, yes. Because I do the same thing with gouache, even though, you can reactivate it and stuff, but I do find that I enjoy it, but I don't get an opportunity to really do it much because I'm painting so quickly at work and it's quite simple and things.
Sure,
yeah,
yeah, I get that, yeah.
Yeah, this
I think
Okay, we're gonna do an experiment because part of this color band right here is really strong. And it's not in the right spot. So what I'm gonna do is I found a clean corner of my paper towel. I'm rolling it up. I'm gonna dip that in just a touch of liquid. I'm doing it into the airbrush medium, but it could be water or whatever. Oh, look, it reactivated.
Oh, wow.
I do that. I do this quite a lot in my paintings.
Yeah, I didn't even know I could do it. So that's pretty fun.
I think you have about, because there's this stage of the painting called the tacky stage, not like as in ugly. I mean, it could be, who knows? But the tacky drying
You can be
stage.
honest with me.
So when you first put the paint on and it's still quite liquidy, you can wipe it away, but it'll act kind of like watercolor. Like you can get an edge to it and things like that. And the pigments all move around pretty evenly. But then when it's in the tacky stage, which can last even for a couple of hours, you can scrape it off, or you can just blend it a little bit easier. It's almost like there's two stages in like quick succession with acrylic.
Right. Yeah. And that's the curing process that I've been reading about, is that drying and curing in acrylics is two different things. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, big time. And then even, I think people don't realize either that acrylic sticks to acrylic. So if you're stacking your paintings up, it's kind of like how liquid latex and things like that, they all stick to each other. So if you're stacking them up, you need something in between them all, because it really will actually never properly dry. It's just that things evaporate. But depending on the density of the paint, you know, like there's always going to be something in there. So be careful with that.
So that makes me excited to revisit this area. Let's do the same thing because this became very subtle, right? We've lost our, I mean, there's a little bit of glow just because we have warm and cool. So I did the same thing. I took my paper towel, dipped it in. I'm just gonna bring back some of that luminosity. Even though it's a cool light, you know, it's not as warm as this, but it's still got that kind of, you know, vibrant light brightness, I hope. Oh, that's fun. See, I'm totally still learning like what I can do. Like this opens up some different avenues for that's see how that just came to life by having that extra value.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
All
it
right.
makes it easier for you as well to get that that bottom of a cloud where sometimes in the distance the top of it is kind of misty depending on, you know, the lighting, but it really does help to just get those lines in there and not go back in with a paint that may be too dense, you know, so it's not going to match what's going on in the background.
Okay.
It's a very dynamic paint. It really is. I think it has a bit of a bad rap, but you know, you can do a lot of the similar kind of stuff that you might do with oils. You just have to be in a battle with it the whole time. Like it is not a comfortable way of painting at all.
Yeah, it's not leisurely.
Yeah, this is Brett. I'm the other way around. I prefer it fast.
Yeah, but yeah, but
I just I'm in there. I'm moving fast. It forces you to make fast decisions, and that can be an advantage a lot of times. So
yeah.
I've done it. I glaze a lot on figure paintings. I do a lot of figure paint glazing of figures, and
I could see
I
that being really useful. Yeah.
yeah, it's a like I say, I use a lot of the iron oxide, and I don't use raw retardant. I've got some, but I use a glazing medium, and I think some of the retardant effects you're seeing would be mitigated through a glazing medium. It slows down the drying time, but it's also you got medium in there, so.
Yeah, and I'm finding even like now where I'm brushing back in the retarders, literally, I'm seeing the black and white painting in little patches. So I think I might retire the retarder and go back
Yeah.
to mediums that want to bind. I wonder if the retarder doesn't want to bind as well.
It slows down the binding, but if you use a glazing medium that has retarder in it, they mix it together and it mixes better and it's a lot more consistent. So I use glazing medium as my normal medium because it slows down the drying time, but it also is just a lot smoother.
And it makes a super, super strong bind.
Yep.
All right, well, see how different that is? Like these two, you know, we took the same basic design elements, I flipped it, and now we have a sunrise, sunset, and I can come back in and continue to modify these probably in 15 minutes, right? Like these paints should start to set and everything else. So that was fun. Thank you guys for letting me do that. And let me just get the lid on this paint and then we'll get to looking at your guys' beautiful work here. The other thing about acrylics is I got to make sure I find all the paintbrushes that have got acrylics on them and get them in that water and not just walk away. You can clean dried acrylics, but it is sure a lot of work. Dried acrylics on brushes.
I found that Murphy's oil soap is really good for taking out dried acrylics, either out of your brushes or off your clothes.
Oh, good to know.
Acrylics
Yeah.
and oils.
Pardon?
And oil paints also, if they dry every once in a while.
Oh, yeah. Either Murphy's oil soap is a miracle.
So when cleaning the brushes with Murphy's oil, do you add water?
So yeah, here's my Murphy soap, which again, I use for oils, but it sounds like it works great for acrylics. Also, it's great for softening your brushes. The one thing I've found though with the Murphy's oil soap is you may want to hit it with a little bit of dishwashing soap at the very end because it does have the oil in it, especially if you're going to go to acrylics. And then this is another one that seems to really work. It's the Super Citrus, but it's pretty brutal. It will dry your brushes out a little more.
So Michael, do you dilute the Murphy's oil soap?
Do I dry it?
No, no. Do you add water to that while cleaning the brushes?
What I'll do is just pour like a little cup full of it, or like 2 or 3 inches full, and just let the brushes soak for an hour.
Okay.
And then what I do is I take those brushes because it really softens them up, and then I just use my fingers or a towel or something, and I kind of
Remove the paint.
yeah, and then I'll re-soak them again, or yeah, and then I'll run it through water and maybe just a touch of dish soap. And then if I want to reshape it, especially if they're my oil painting brushes, I can take either just a touch of like a lotion, or I use just a very tiny amount of Vaseline, like a tiny amount, like just, you can't even see it when you touch your fingers, and then you can reshape the brushes.
Okay.
But you want to make sure that you get that Vaseline off before you start painting, because that will never dry on your surface. How you doing, Nadine?
I find that coconut oil works pretty good for mine.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah, I've been using those on my boots lately to recondition my old leather boots. I imagine it'd work great. So yeah, anything that kind of, but again, that's for your oil painting brushes. For watercolor brushes, acrylics, all that, I'd be a little more hesitant. Or you can recondition your brushes, but then you're probably going to want to clean them before you get them into anything that's water. Get that oil off. So dish soap or whatever it is. All right, great. Let me stop this video and we'll start part 3.